Hello, welcome to the new season of our seminar series running from August to December 2024. This event is brought to you in partnership with the Congressional Policy and Budget Research Department, or CPBRD, with participation from representatives of various House committees and distinguished members of the House of Representatives, or HREP. We are excited to have you with us as we embark on another round of engaging and impactful discussions. As part of the recently concluded HREP Ateneo Evidence-Based Research Project, 13 research studies were submitted to the Philippine House of Representatives. These studies, packaged as the Special Working Paper Series under the Ateneo Department of Economics and Ateneo Center for Economic Research and Development, or ASERD, cover a wide range of topics designed to support the Marcos Jr. administration's 8-point agenda. These include initiatives aimed at protecting the purchasing power of families, reducing vulnerability and mitigating the pandemic's effects, ensuring sound macroeconomic fundamentals, creating more quality and green jobs, facilitating government right-sizing, and establishing peace and order. We will have a 40-minute presentation followed by a 20-minute Q&A, providing ample opportunity for in-depth discussion. Just a quick reminder, though the House rules were already shown earlier, let me run through them again briefly. First, please let the speaker finish the presentation before we open the floor for questions. For our Zoom participants, kindly stay muted and keep your video off during the presentation. When we move into the Q&A, simply raise your hand virtually, and once acknowledged, you can unmute and ask your question. Alternatively, you can send your questions via the chat box or chat with me directly. Lastly, materials from this seminar will only be shared on our website with the speaker's consent. Today's presentation, titled Scorecards for Livable and Sustainable Communities, introduces the Blue and Green Economy Scorecards, innovative tools designed to assist the Philippines local government units, or LGUs, in evaluating environmental performance across marine and terrestrial ecosystems. Using a ridge-to-reef approach, these scorecards integrate ecosystem service data, offering LGUs a valuable resource for promoting transparency and accountability in sustainability efforts. The scorecards are grounded on international indices and were developed through extensive literature reviews, expert consultations, and a structured weighting system. This paper exemplifies the Philippines' commitment to fostering ecological health at the local level while aligning the global sustainability goals, providing LGUs with essential metrics for informed, data-driven decisions. Our speakers today are Dr. Jefferson Arapok, Dr. Sharina Lynn Amedo Repolo, and Dr. Asa Jose Sajise. Dr. Arapok, an assistant professor at UP Los Baños and co-founder of Usapang Econ, specializes in behavioral and environmental economics. Dr. Repolo, deputy director for research at UP's Marine Science Institute, brings expertise in coastal dynamics and climate change. And Dr. Sajise, a professor at UPLB, is known for his work in environmental valuation and bioeconomic modeling. Together, they will introduce the Blue and Green Economy Scorecards, tools designed to support local governance in advancing environmental sustainability. Please join us in welcoming our distinguished speakers with a warm round of applause. Dr. Arapok, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Doc Magante. Thank you for that introduction. So I'll just prepare to share my screen. Okay. Can you now see my screen?
Yes,
want
sir.
to make sure. Okay, thank you so much. Again, good afternoon, everyone. So I am Jefferson Arapok. You can call me Jeff. Together with me in this project are Dr. Repolyo, Dr. Sahise, and Ms. Mercado. And we will be and I will be presenting our study entitled Scorecards for Livable and Sustainable Communities. First, allow me to provide you with a brief background and the underlying motivation for this study. With two-thirds of our planet's biodiversity within the borders of the Philippines, our country serves as a critical hub for various economic activities reliant on its diverse ecosystem. And these activities span crucial sectors such as food production, manufacturing, energy generation, and tourism. Despite these remarkable attributes of the Philippines, our country faces significant challenges in global environmental sustainability ranking. For instance, according to the Environmental Performance Index released by the Yale Center for Environmental Law and Policy, the Philippines actually plummeted to 158th place globally. This is actually a decline from our 111th place in 2020. And this can be ascribed or attributed to the deteriorating air quality and inadequate efforts in climate change mitigation, which are also evident in the aforementioned rankings. If you're going to look at the breakdown of the scores, in addition to our concerning performance in global rankings, our environment faces numerous threats as well. One significant example is the frequency of oil spill. If you're reading the news or seeing the news, you'll definitely see that it's more frequent, right? And according to records from the Philippine National Coast Guard, there have been 468 reported oil spill incidents in the last 23 years, which is 40.8% of this occurring in just the past decade. So this catastrophic impact or of this incident on affected communities are undeniable. Furthermore, the Philippines are ranked ninth out of 250 countries for having the highest number of endangered species, as reported by the International Union for Conservation of Nature Red List. So these alarming statistics underscore the urgent need for conservation efforts to protect our country's biodiversity. And moreover, the Philippines holds the unfortunate title of being the world's top contributor to plastic pollution in oceans. A study conducted by Utility Bidder revealed that the average person in the Philippines contributes 3.3 kilograms of plastic pollution per year. So this problem need addressing. So, however, there's a bigger issue that often gets in the way of finding the right policy solution. One major problem is the lack of consistent data collection, or sometimes no data is collected at all. Um, I'll take our experience with oil spill. For example, when data isn't collected beforehand, it's tough to evaluate the full extent of the oil spill's impact after it happened. We need baseline information to evaluate and respond to this situation properly, and this require constant data collection. Furthermore, there's also a government issue regarding which authority should be responsible for collecting this information. The lack of coordination in data collection, it actually complicates evidence-based policy making more than necessary. Considering these challenges, our research team suggests creating an index that our leaders can utilize to actively promote the government's initiative of fostering a sustainable blue and green economy. And we're calling this initiative the Blue and Green Scorecards for Livable and Sustainable Communities. Actually, these environmental scorecards they're nothing new. I mean, the development of indices to gauge environmental quality is not a novel concept. In fact, numerous countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, France, New Zealand, and even for Portugal have implemented such indices to visualize and assess the impact of environmental conditions on people's quality of life. And our research has indicated that lower scores on environmental quality indices have been linked to increased mortality rate, independent of age, gender, and other socioeconomic factors. In the Philippines, there are also existing environmental metrics systems, but most of them are often tailored to specific industries or limited in scope. For example, we have the Fishery Compliance Audit or FISHCA. Um, this one, FISHCA, monitors the adherence of local government units to Republic Act number 8550, also known as the Philippines Fisheries Code. As amended, it's RA number 10654. Additionally, there's the Marine Protected Area Management Effectiveness Assessment Tool, or the MPA NEAT. So it's designed to evaluate the management of marine protected areas. And furthermore, I'm also part of this project from the Development Academy of the Philippines. We actually piloted the adoption of the Smart City Index. So it aimed to assist cities in creating smart city roadmaps. Presently, only two cities in the Philippines went the evaluation. So it's Santa Rosa and Malolos City. They actually participated in this initiative of the Development Academy of the Philippines. So depart from existing metrics that may appear overly tailored to specific industries and limited in scope. This study adopted the sustainability framework proposed by the European Climate, Infrastructure, and Environment Executive Agency, or SINEA. So this framework encompasses four primary sustainability dimensions. So it's economic, environmental, social, and sustainable governance. Although initially it's crafted for the blue economy, our study aimed to expand its applicability to encompass indicators relevant to sectors within the green economy as well. So in calculating the blue and green scorecard, several steps were undertaken. So number one, of course, the selection of indicators. So relevant indicators were chosen to address various environmental and sustainability issues prevalent in different ecosystems. But potential indicators were drawn from established international and local scorecards, including but not limited to SINEA scorecards, the Smart City Index, the Global Smart City Index, Sustainable Cities Index, MPA, and FISHCA. We also performed data collection. So data primarily sourced from secondary sources were gathered. We weren't able to really compute all the scorecards for all municipalities in the Philippines, but we have some pilot testing. Within this space, emphasis was placed on identifying pertinent and suitable metrics for the selected indicators, and I'm gonna show you that later. Weight assignment is very, very important. The research team determined the weight for each indicator, which is an important stage in shaping the Blue-Green Economy Index. We actually based this in an existing Sustainable City Index where the weight is biased towards environmental dimension. So I think it's 60% and 40% were divided into economic, social, and sustainable governance. And then, of course, the aggregation of values. This is the final step, which involved consolidating the weighted values of the indicators to construct the comprehensive index that we are proposing. So for the environmental dimension, we divided the indicators into two groups, the blue and green economy indicators. So the green economy indicators were applied to landlocked communities, while green economy indicators are only added to coastal communities. So what I'm trying to say is that if you're a landlocked, so only green economy is applicable to your place. But if you are a coastal community, then the blue economy indicators also applies to you. So for the green economy indicators, this include the following indicators. So it's there, like for example, you have the energy consumption per capita, and we also categorize it based on the existing policies that the government is currently implementing, so that we also know what policy interventions or what existing policies uh, can this indicator be used as a guide? Because later on, I'm also going to show you how this scorecard can be used for policy implementation, policy compliance, and of course, modification of existing policies that we have. For the blue economy indicators, this include the following indicators. So it's there, like water quality. We also have other indicators present in the slide. And then for economic dimensions, the indicators include the concentration of business, economic viability, and employment indicators. So it's there. And then you have for social dimension, we have indicators which includes employment conditions, safety management, vulnerability indicators. So it's all there. And then for the governance dimension, the indicators include ease of doing business, impact assessment programs, climate change initiatives, and budget utilization indicators. So these indicators measure governance practices and performance. So there. So our team has chosen to conduct a pilot test of the blue and green scorecards with local government units that possess the most readily available data corresponding to the indicators we have identified. And based on our data collection, we were able to get this 10 local government units: Baguio, in Benguet, Parañaque, Lucena, Quezon, Puerto Princesa, Palawan, Legazpi, Albay, Naga Camarines Sur, Zamboanga in Zamboanga del Sur, Iligan in Lanao del Norte, Davao, Davao del Sur, and Butuan in Agusan del Norte. And based from our analysis, so what insight can we get from this pilot exercise? We noticed that leading LGUs demonstrate excellence in both environmental and economic dimensions. However, despite their high scores in these areas, Baguio City and Davao City face challenges in their governance dimension. On the other hand, cities such as Iligan, Zamboanga, Parañaque have scored lower across all dimensions. Notably, data for the Blue Economy Scorecards are not yet available for most LGUs, which is somehow a lesson learned. So it means that most LGUs are not really collecting data. That's why it's very hard for you to find a baseline data whenever there is a problem, like for example, oil spill. However, the primary challenge we really faced during the implementation of this pilot testing was the varying capacity of LGUs to collect data. We all know that information is power, and having accurate data is crucial in guiding us towards the right policy direction to address these challenges, right? And I would like to emphasize several key observations derived from our pilot exercise regarding data collection. We've observed that while both LGUs acknowledge the importance of collecting this data, there's confusion regarding the jurisdiction or responsibility for its collection. Should it be the LGU or the VENR or the PSA? And additionally, the lack of harmonization in data collection often leads to inconsistencies, duplications, or even the absence of data collection altogether. So our team strongly believes that addressing these issues is paramount for the success of this proposal. So how will the blue and green economy scorecards be used as a policy instrument? So based on this framework, so that question is answered by this framework. So again, environmental scorecards can play an essential role in strengthening environmental policy compliance, formulation, and implementation here in the Philippines. Its real strength lies in its ability to measure the impact of action. create a competitive drive for improvement, and link results to broader environmental goals of our country. By legislating environmental scorecards, we can establish clear targets that enhance compliance and accountability. And imagine if these are publicly available, it makes environmental performance more transparent, helping us shift from tracking outputs to measuring outcomes, which matters. Moreover, the standardized national scorecard system would support data driven decision making and empower citizens and organizations to hold polluters accountable. Scorecards can also highlight the best practices, help prioritize resources, and attract responsible investment that strengthen environmental sustainability. However, implementing a nationwide or national scorecard system comes with its own challenges. Ensuring data quality is one thing, and standardization is essential to create a reliable comparisons across different regions and sectors. Building the necessary technical capacity and securing resources to maintain the system are also critical. We must also engage communities, ensuring that the system is accessible, understandable, and it should foster wide participation among stakeholders. And finally, we must also avoid the risk that you can game the system or basically game the metrics, because that's also going to be problematic, because it might where the focus might shift to merely improving scores rather than truly addressing environmental issues. We don't want that to happen. In behavioral economics, that's good hard law, right? So in summary, the environmental scorecards, when carefully designed and thoughtfully implemented, it can actually empower the Philippines to set more effective policies, can promote sustainable development, and address specific environmental challenges. So, through engagement and transparency, they offer a path to a more resilient and sustainable future for the country. So, that ends my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Arapok, for the timely and enlightening lecture. So we are now approaching our Q&A segment. So we are encouraging participants to please raise their hands or type their questions in our chat box. So do we have any questions from the participants? I see here over 50 participants, Dr. Arapok. Your paper and research is actually very interested. So I'm glad a lot of you had managed to make time for us today to listen to Dr. Arapok's presentation. So currently
Um,
yes, sir.
Sorry, I think two of my co-authors are here, Cha and Doc Cha and Doc Asa. So,
Okay,
Oh,
good afternoon.
good afternoon, doctors.
Good afternoon.
Okay, do we have any questions in our chat box for the authors of the paper? We do have here Dr. Arapok, Dr. Repolyo, and Dr. Sajise with us today. So any questions from the team?
don't be shy. you can
Kaya pa
you can
sila,
ask
sir.
anything. Okay, nag-warm up pa.
Naiya pa sila. Okay, so before while they are processing their questions, I have a question for either Dr. Arapok, Dr. Repolyo, or Dr. Sajise. So you have discussed the very interesting policy implications and of course highlighted the difficulties in terms of data collection. So is it PSA, is it LGU? Sino nga ba ang mangongolekta ng mga very interesting data na to, sir? So right now, can you currently or at least briefly describe the the problem you have encountered, and in terms of data collection, what would you recommend for us to better facilitate this data and information gathering?
Actually, during when we presented this to the legislators, I think that was Feb 7. Um, um, Based from our experience, normally economic data then usually nagkaka-problem because the problem is that normally economic data, for example, if we're talking about unemployment rate, of course, it's very important for you to get that sa LGU because they have the access to people, di ba? Normally kasi the PSA would do it, kaso their data is normally, ang tawag dito, when they do the sampling design, normally, di ba, parang nakafocus na agad siya, for example, for, ang tawag dito, either a city or a municipality. I think ang nai-imagine kasi namin, sometimes, at the barangay level, di ba, parang if you want to really, it's easier for you to collect data kasi magkakakilala sila. Siguro the system should really tap into the existing, ano ba ito, yung existing ano natin, ang tawag doon, yung existing leadership, kumbaga, di ba? Kasi people can easily participate dun sa data collection if you would really tap into the smallest unit, kunwari barangay. Pero based from our conversation during the RTD, dun ata nagkakaroon ng problem, kaya nagkakaroon tuloy ng turuan. Should it be the LGU? Should it be the barangay? So I think pag in-implement to, it's very, very important to be able to really pinpoint the parang yung magiging, what do you call this, the agency that will really oversee the data collection and how it should be implemented. So ayun, ang I think another challenge would be the capacity, of course, because sometimes they don't have the capacity to collect data. And I think it's more of really trying to have this, ang tawag dito, parang it's parang kumbaga parang siyang interdisciplinary in nature or parang multi-sector approach dapat kasi the one that is really ang tawag dito may skill set to do the sampling and all that, it's the PSA. So probably yun yung kailangan ayusin eh. They should empower even at the barangay level on how to collect and keep the data. Kasi yun nga, at the end of the day, sila rin naman yung makikinabang from the data that is being collected from their unit. So ayun, yun lang yung take ko.
Thank you, Dr. Arapok. Yes, we actually have a lot of issues regarding data collection. I do understand Dr. Arapok's sentiment when he said na maraming nagtuturuan. Of course, it is quite favorable for the LGUs to play with their comparative advantage. Also because they have the relationship, 'di ba, with the
Yeah,
barangay units.
yeah,
They know the people, and of course they know whom to tap, whom to talk to, and as such. And there is also, I think, ease in terms of data collection when you are quite comfortable with the
yeah.
facilitators obtaining your data. So that's a very good take for on that, Dr. Arapok. Kailangan pa and
And there, yeah, and it's easier to mobilize kasi talaga
mm,
since ayun nga, under nila ganyan. So I think, yeah,
yeah. And also I guess in terms of the usability of the data, I think a very crucial factor in data collection would be training the right enumerator in order to get the specific type of data that you are
yeah.
doing.
And aside from that, then yung data integrity. Because the problem is that if they will just get the data, pero if you don't have the proper training in acquiring the data, it's also possible that across LGUs, the data quality are different across LGUs. And
Yes.
that's also a problem because how can you compare data that are actually not comparable in terms of quality. So that's
That's
another issue.
that's true. Thank you, Dr.
Ay,
Arabo. We
Ma'am
have
Cha. Yeah,
Dr.
Ma'am Cha.
Repolyo, ma'am.
Oo. If I may add lang din no, doon sa sinabi ni Sir Jeff regarding the problem with the data gathering. Isa pa actually sa na-identify din namin yung difficulty nung indicators. Kasi we really have to slim down the indicators kasi ang daming indicators and we just have to, I think, focus on the significant indicator talaga. At yun ang ipapagather sa ating LGUs. And yung isa din is depende kung gaano kasipag yung namamahala sa LGU. Kasi may iba na talagang kung hindi siya compliance para or hindi siya nire-require ng national government, walang inisyatibo para gawin yung data gathering. And aside from that, another thing is yung harmonization ng data set na i-gather. So dapat merong protocol na susundan sila and then capacitate them on how to gather this data set. So yun yung mga critical na problem na na-identify namin during the process nung ginagawa namin yung project na to. So yun po.
Thank you for that comment, Dr. Repolyo. Do we have other questions from our audience? Malinaw na explain ni Dr. Arapok yung study nila, no? Kaya wala kayong maitanong. Do we have any questions from our audience? Come on, don't be shy. You can type it in our chat box. Ayan, we do have one question here from Miss Ogerio. Question lang po on how can the scorecard be adapted to address the unique housing challenges faced by different LGUs?
Housing. So, sorry. Sa housing ba to?
Yes, sir. So, how can the scorecard be adapted to address the unique housing challenges faced by different LGUs?
Sa housing, no? Kasi meron kasing dimensions yung yung scorecard na ginawa namin, 'di ba? Meron siya nung economic, environmental, tapos meron siya ng social, tapos meron siyang governance dimension. I think pwede siyang pumasok doon sa safety management. I mean, kasi 'di ba parang ang problem mo, meron din kasi dong annual number of area flooded as a percentage of total area in the city. Meron din dun yung parang vulnerability index. So I think kung sa housing problem, I think pwede ding magamit yung indicator, especially to guide yung mga housing project. Kasi kung meron kang data on that, it's very easy for you to say na okay, baka hindi ka dapat magtayo ng mas maraming bahay, or in terms of the supply of houses. I mean kasi 'di ba hindi lang siya dapat supply ng house, supply ng houses yung issue mo, yung safety din of having it. So I think doon pwedeng makatulong yung scorecards in that aspect. Nasagot ko ba yung question?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. We have one question here to any of our authors, Dr. Sajisi, Dr. Repolyo, and Dr. Arapok. Could the authors please elaborate on the process of selecting and weighing the indicators for the scorecard?
Okay. Sige. For the identification of the indicators, we actually base it. I think parang nasabi ko doon sa isang slide na binasa namin siya doon sa different existing indicators na mga established international and local scorecards. Yung SINEA, of course, the Smart City Index, the Global Smart City Index, tapos yung Sustainable City Index, yung MPA MIT, at saka yung FISHCA. Then, kasi there are actually indicators that are not applicable to the Philippines. So what we did was that given literature review na ginawa namin for this existing indicators, kung merong tatanggalin dito, we have to find a more parang more applicable indicator for the Philippines. Pero in any index kasi important din naman yung you want to simplify it. So what we did was that kung feeling namin hindi lang namin pala feeling. Hindi check din namin siya in terms of the capacity of the LGU to collect the data in the future. Kasi minsan may mga existing indicators sa ibang bansa or dun sa smart city, or for example, dun sa index nila that are too complicated to collect. Kasi syempre, di ba, yung mga LGU, we have to consider the ability of the LGU to eventually collect the data in the future. So, ayun din, parang nagkaroon din kami doon ng parang process of elimination in terms of including those indicators. And then when it comes to the weighting, meron kami pinagbasehan yung Environmental and Social Sustainability Index. Since these are blue and green scorecards, so the focus is really on environment. Kaya mas mataas yung environmental sustainability dimensions. It has the biggest weight with 60%. Then the remaining 40% are divided among the three remaining dimensions, yung economic sustainability, social sustainability, and the sustainable governance dimension. So, ayun, yun yung proseso na pinagdaanan nito scorecards that we presented sa ating mga congressmen.
I can only imagine the process of elimination sa konting kwento pa lang ni Dr. Arapok, parang napaka-holistic ng paggawa ng indices nila and scorecard. Okay, we have two questions here, Dr. Arapok. First from Ms. Sia. How can we assure that the data collected and tools through this blue and green economy scorecards have continuity across the terms of different politicians, given the current political climate of the country? So this is in relation to what you've said earlier, sir.
Actually, totoo. Na-raise din yan during the RTD. Actually, when we were crafting the scorecards as well, naging discussion din yan namin during the meeting. Kasi that's really a valid concern. Kasi di ba we all know that in the Philippines, kunwari yung barangay, di ba, very yung yung election. Pero yung sa LGU every 3 years, sa mga ganyan. So, parang yan nga din yung naging issue namin. Ang iniisip nga din namin dyan, it's very, very important to really look at yung parang we really need to ensure na yung scorecards, meron siyang maayos na, what do you call this, yung parang template, tamang term dito, but basically what we really wanted to establish is that dapat meron ng parang document that would be it's like the Bible for the scorecard, so that it's easier for you to transfer that particular document to the next batch of leaders na susunod, for example, for this particular LGU. So I think crafting that document would be very, very crucial. Kasi yun yung magiging Bible. Kasi you really want to maintain the integrity of the data across different leadership. So yun. But yeah, that's a very valid question, and alam namin na magiging problem talaga siya. So hopefully, if this will be implemented, that document, the crafting of that document is very, very important.
Thank you, Dr. Arapok. We have another question here, sir. Dumarating na yung mga questions natin. So, since it was mentioned po by Dr. Repolio that data collection will depend, and I quote, kung gaano kasipag yung LGUs, are there any identified or suggested incentives for said LGUs to comply, since this was also mentioned in the Guide for Policy Formation?
Oh, actually, it's that's a good question kasi we actually included that in our paper. If you will read the main document, inisip nga din namin dyan na i-harmonize yung pag-award dun sa mga LGUs. Di ba may mga existing awards na binibigay sa LGUs? And I think having the scorecards, um, it's easier for you to evaluate LGUs, and probably eventually maganda sana na meron din na pag-usapan din namin to during the roundtable discussion with our congressman na pwede din na parang eventually meron kunwari silang, alam niyo yun, more leeway for budget kasi naka-comply sila sa ganito. So I think that's very, very important, the incentive system. Kasi syempre, first principle of, one of the 10 principles of economics, people respond to incentives. So yeah, we really have to ensure na ma-set up yung proper incentive so that LGU would be enticed to really participate in this initiative.
Thank you, sir. And we have one question here. This is kind of an assumption, but I think the green economy is not a well-known concept, more so the blue economy in a local setting. So I'm curious to know if the authors met any concern on this during the data collection. If there was any, how did they address this?
Ah, yung green and blue economy kasi it's meron na naman kasi yung international definition, but in terms of how we ask the indicators that we wanted to gain from the LGU, nakafocus talaga dun sa ano sa indicator na hinihingi namin. So what we did was that it's more of a classification. So parang yung green economy indicators, parang in-apply namin siya kinolect namin siya for LGUs na landlocked. But for those that are, for LGUs that are nasa coastal, so basically nag-a-apply sa kanila then yung blue economy indicators. So ganun siya. Parang ang point is that when we collect data, we basically collect data that applies to their city. So parang, but I do agree that probably it will also help to really promote the difference between blue and green economy so that they're aware that especially for communities that na nasa coastal area, mas marami silang magiging problem kasi nga 'di ba kunwari oil spill, kung nasa coastal area ka, you can easily be affected by this mga unfavorable events or environmental catastrophe. So yeah, I think it's very important to inform the LGUs as well of their classification. Pero during our data collection for the pilot testing, more of nag-focus kami on how we collect the data that we need to calculate for their scores. So yeah.
Thank you, sir. We have here one question from Mr. Duque. How might the green and blue LGU scorecards be considered for integration into future amendments of the Local Government Code of 1991 to enhance environmental governance and sustainability in local communities?
I think nandiyan si Dr. Sahisi kasi I think our itong scorecards magagamit siya dun sa PEMCAS. Sir Isab, you might want to talk about it. Nandito ka lang, sir. Ayan.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I think ano siya, I think it can readily be incorporated doon sa future amendments. I think yung, as Jeff mentioned, yung PENCAS already, well, in a earlier version ng bill, very evident yung role ng LGUs in terms of collecting the data for implementing yung natural capital accounting. So I think that the green and green scorecard is a step towards that. If you try to look at it, parang it's a shopping list of data that you need to collect, including yung extent and condition ng ecosystems mo. So I think that's going to be something na merong medyo nauna na before yung amendment doon sa local government code, which is the PENCAS bill already. Sort of obligates yung LGUs to collect environmental or system data. Sila yung identified kasi doon sa PENCAS as a forefront for collecting the data. Now, I think I'd like to chip in also in the idea na brought up na rin ni Jeff and ni Ma'am Cha. I think we really need some form of structure as well kasi it's going to be uh, a societal endeavor as well. Kasi if you try to think about uh, collecting yung environmental data, those are technical data na I think the LGUs may not be able to collect. So I think you need to integrate or to link them to academic institution who usually has a comparative advantage. So I think there's needs to be a system by which the different institutions uh, pwedeng matap yung kanilang different comparative advantages and then sort of form a structure on how the data will flow, how the data will be curated, but more importantly, how the data will be communicated. I think yun yung isa. And the scorecard is just one of the ways by which you can communicate all this voluminous information, which includes yung environment and the economy as well. So yun po yung that's my take. Thank you for that good question.
Okay, thank you for that, Dr. Sajise. We no longer have any questions pending. So, wala nang questions, and I think it's safe for us to end our session with that as our last inquiry. So, on behalf of everyone here, we do sincerely thank our speakers, Dr. Jefferson Arapoc, Dr. Sharina Lynn Amedo Repollo, and Dr. Asa Jose Sajise for sharing their knowledge and insights with us, with our 60-plus audience for today. So your contributions have made this seminar both enlightening and inspiring. We truly do appreciate the time and effort you put into making this event a success. Thank you po, doctors.
Thank you,
Please,
Dan.
thank you, Doc Repolyo.
Thank you so much.
Salamat po.
Thank
So,
you.
please visit the website for materials from our previous seminars, and for previous seminar series videos, it can be found in the Ateneo de Manila University YouTube page with a playlist titled Economics Seminar Series. Request form for certificates link can be found on the chat box. Please do answer immediately as it is only open for 2 hours after this session. And of course, we would like to thank the support team, Ms. Danny Andres, Mr. Kenneth Arno Nobal, Mr. Lance Batara, and Mr. Rodel G. Crisostomo. Danny?
Oh, hello po. I think Danny has unstable Wi-Fi, so I'll take the photo off. So maybe maybe I can give everyone a few seconds to open their camera and also maybe touch up for for a small amount of time. Okay. So I have 3 panels po, so I'll wait for everyone to open. Yeah. So if you can't open your camera, maybe you can react na lang. Okay. So let's take our photo na po. So 1, 2, 3. For the second panel, 1, 2, 3. Okay. For the last panel po, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our speakers for today's session. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much.